my name is Biff Whitfield, and this is the SIGVE Speaker Series. Welcome, everyone. I'm here with a very special guest, and of course, we always have our fearless producer, Grid Jumper, here. Good friend and co-host Scott Merrick won't be joining us this evening. He's on vacation, believe it or not. I think he was sailing off to some wild and crazy islands and doing um, what's that called when you're on a cruise? And then I think he was going to New Orleans, something like that. So, again, welcome everyone. Have a seat. And we're going to get started with a very special guest. I have with me Arthur Conan Doyle. The name may sound familiar, and I'll let him explain that if he chooses to. I came across him in my travels, and Arthur gave me a really wonderful tour of his Alice Academy. And what I love about it, and was it really has kind of that whimsical feel that we love about Second Life, but it gave some real credibility to doing courses and being an educational sim as well. So I think it really played the nice balance that we've all been looking for when it comes to educational venues in Second Life, to have the kind of whimsical feel, but also the powerful learning behind it. So with that, I want to thank you, Arthur, for coming. And I'd like you to maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about Alice Academy and what your goals and objectives and all that good stuff. So again, welcome.
Sure. I'm a retired teacher. I retired in, oh, I can't remember, a long time ago, about 10 years ago. But I do a lot of volunteer work for the University of Oregon in Eugene, Oregon. And a really nice group of folks. They do a lot of grants and do research. And I sort of hang out and put in my 2 cents worth every once in a while. I started off as an English teacher and I got my master's degree in teaching English as a second language. I taught Eskimos in Alaska, Navajos in Arizona, and in Oregon I taught Hmong and Vietnamese and Lao and Chinese and probably from almost half the countries of the world. And then I bought an Apple II computer, and that kind of changed my entire life. So I started doing more with technology than with English. And uh, eventually, my students, for example, uh, made the first high school yearbook on planet Earth. Those same students formed a company of production for computers. I started um, cyber school, which was the first online public high school in the world. And then I started again, as I said, working with the guys at Kate, and a guy named Jonathan Richter took me kicking and screaming into Second Life. I thought it was extremely stupid. I could not see why anybody would want to do something so crazy as to run around in a little avatar. And when I joined, you couldn't choose a first and last name. So they give you a last name. You could choose a last name from a list, and it was Doyle. And I was in a bad mood, and I said, "Okay, I'll be Arthur Conan Doyle." That proved to be very useful because when I got into Second Life and started to understand what it was all about, I was approached by people who were steampunks. You may or know that subculture here in Second Life, and I became a founding member of. Um, uh, oh, I'm having a senior moment. That goes with getting old. Um, well, I'll think of it in a minute. And anyway, what was good about that is I learned about community, and I knew that a lot of educational builds weren't doing community. They were building beautiful buildings that nobody ever went to. And so I kept saying, this has got to be crazy. The University of Oregon was not interested in buying an island or supporting an island. So I said, this doesn't make any sense. So I bought one I bought an island, Alice Academy. I actually own 3 islands now, and mostly I have teachers there. I have teachers from Greece, from Nigeria, from a whole bunch of different places around the world. And we do teacher training mostly with rural teachers. Is that enough?
That's great. Um, you mentioned, um, just tell us about the professional development aspect of what you do, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, it was it was a tough sell, but we had a project called Project Direct, and Project Direct was to take very rural teachers who, if you were the English teacher, there's probably not another English teacher for 100 miles in any direction, and we would take people. So we had a grant to work with them and on their writing and their teaching of writing. And so we started meeting with them, and they were very resistant to Second Life, but they really got into it after a while. They were to meet once a month in Second Life, usually had a presenter, and then they would have a discussion. After about a couple of months, they said, no, 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 we don't want to meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon right after school. We want to meet at 7 o'clock at night because we want to, get dinner over with and the kids to bed and or on their way to bed, and we want to pour a glass of wine and we want to enjoy this. And once a week is the wrong schedule. We want to meet every week. We want to meet every, I think it was Thursday, and we had presenters who would come and talk about writing, and but the real meat of it became the discussion afterwards because they did not have any collegiality. I mean, they didn't have another English teacher to talk to or another writing teacher to talk to. And so that we did that with 10 teachers. And then we had a second year grant, and we kept the first 10 teachers and we added another 10. So we had 20 at a time. And it just turned into one of the best teaching situations I've ever had. Um, Teachers started talking to each other, and they pretty much took over the agenda. They said, well, we don't want another fancy speaker. Thank you very much. We're doing very fine on our own. And so they did that. Well, when the project was over, I was surprised that they wanted to keep meeting. They had this value out of it. And they started to build this community, which it was like the new Babbage that I had experienced early. Oh, I finally remembered the name of it. This new Babbage where I learned about community and learned how a virtual community sort of gets made. And so they're still meeting, not as often as once a week, but they're still meeting. And to show you the depth of that um, community, one of the people in the first one um, just died, and it just hit this like a ton of bricks, and they've only seen each other face to face only once in their entire life, and but we had people crying in Second Life, and they want to make a memorial to her, and so forth and so on. And I realized that this is not going to happen in Google Hangout or Skype or any of that sort of stuff. And it, it really gave me more now instead of an island because I want to have more of that kind of reaction with people. And from there, we got some more grants. I don't know if you're familiar with the National Writing Project, which we've had at the University of Oregon for about 40 years. and its funding got cut, just wiped away, and we had to make do with what we could do. And so we continued, and we called it Global Writing Project. It was all done in Second Life, and I was amazed how powerful the teaching was. I thought it was going to be kind of a, not as good as real life. In a lot of ways, it became better than real life. And one of the ways it was better is we had teachers from Nigeria, we had teachers from Greece, and we had teachers from Mexico. And those all were all English teachers. They were all interested in teaching writing. And we started to figure out how to use the technology to do the things that they wanted to do. And I was just blown away, knocked down with what they did. I was just amazed. We're going to do more of that with even less money. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but we're going to do it because it was such a good, fulfilling teaching and learning experience.
I think you tapped into something that I know a lot of us have experienced, and that's that kind of early resistance. And I think you find it certainly in my own case. When someone told me, check out the Second Life thing, geez, that's you think it's almost too childlike for you, but once you get into it, it may be childlike, but it brings you back to, I think, and opens up again some creativity and a different way of viewing things. Can you tell us about your experience? I mean, here you are. You say you're retired, um, and then the experiences of the other teachers you said that were resistant at first. Can you tell maybe a little bit about what might be the turning point to bringing them around to this type of environment?
Really turned them around was when they started talking to each other rather than us talking to them. And like in Oregon, the National Writing Project, in real life, they had little groups of 6 people, and so we did the same thing in Second Life. So they had 6 people who had tasks to complete, a writing task to complete, and they talked to each other and read each other's work. It was very collegial, and um, it's when they get together and do that that the magic happens. We still do give presentations, PowerPoint presentation kinds of things, but it's the interaction between the teachers themselves is where the magic still happens. And it doesn't always happen, by the way. We have a grant now that's just terrible. This is awful. They don't want to talk to each other. Of course, they're all math teachers, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I guess math teachers are not as chatty uh, with each other as English teachers are.
I think that's actually a really interesting point, and one that I've thought about a lot, and I think with the speakers that we see, and this would certainly make a good research project. I almost wonder if there's maybe a component of you know I'm just kind of generalizing math teachers, which isn't always a good thing to do and always a good fit, but I wonder if there's a personality type, say introverted, extroverted, logical, artistic. I always call it like the Lego kid. I was a Lego kid growing up, and with a box of Legos, I could make a pretty magical world out of it. Do you think there's something to that? Do you think there's a certain type of person that latches onto this, and by comparison, a person maybe that doesn't latch onto something like this?
Yeah, I don't know what it is other than people who are personable and in real life have a tendency to engage with other people. Um, uh, is the only thing I can think of, and I love math teachers because I can't do any math, and every time I need something done in math, I have people I can go to. And I don't mean to stereotype them at all, but I was just relating the experience. It's the only group that has not sort of gelled, and they're all math teachers, and I don't know why they didn't gel, and the other classes were English teachers. That's the only two kind we've had so far. We haven't had any science teachers doing anything yet because we haven't had those grants. But the, so far, they just haven't done what the other groups did. And I don't think we've done anything any different. But um, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I guess it's just an interesting thing to ponder. And again, I have had groups of teachers that haven't seemed to bond. And again, it doesn't. I wasn't trying to say it's just a math teacher um, thing. I'm just kind of fascinated by some of the possibilities. Um, I guess I'm just it's almost like a Rorschach ink blot test. Some people see so much into it, and some people just see black and white dots.
Has somebody asked their, go ahead.
I was just going to say, tell us a little bit maybe about the founding of Alice Academy, um, and maybe tell us a little bit more about its history and your role in it.
Okay. I begged and pleaded and did everything I could to convince the University of Oregon, and I was volunteering for the Center for Advanced Technology and Education to get those guys to buy an island and start doing activities on those islands. And after a couple of years, I guess 3 years, I just gave up. And I said, well, I'll just buy my own island. So Alice Academy is what I have instead of having a boat in retirement or going on trips around the world in retirement. Um, I love building, I'm not a builder, but moving and arranging the island and putting stuff on it and having teachers, particularly those from other parts of the world. And it's my retirement hobby. And I enjoy working with teachers. And when I don't feel like working, I don't. I don't go into the office when I don't feel like it. But it is very exciting, and I'm a teacher at heart, uh, born and teacher, I think, and I really, really enjoy working with those guys. And they work hard. They're under a lot of pressure. They need all the support that they can get. Things are really tough right now in education, at least from my view, for teachers. And so I just wanted to give back a little bit. So I try to get a few bucks every once in a while out of a grant, and when they have some money left over from a grant, they give it to me, and it helps pay the rent. But basically, it's out of my pocket, and that means I'm the boss. I get to do whatever I darn well please, and I try to please them. But if they want me to do something that I don't want to do, I tell them take a hike.
Tell us a little bit about the university, experience and how, as far as this is perceived on the university. You said University of Oregon, right?
Yeah, they're I can't convince. Well, I mean, my colleagues that have come onto the island and experienced and taught there, they're real advocates. They're the leaders of the pack, so to speak, and they love it. They think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But as far as anybody who has control over money is concerned, um, they're unconvinced, and um, I, I I don't know what to tell you. I like them. They've been my friends for 20 years. Um, I love them dearly, but they just don't get it until very recently. They're just now starting to get it, but that's been after 3, 4 years here.
There's
no,
a,
no, I
a
don't have
real
any
good
data
question.
other than just uh, anecdotes. But I don't, I don't have that data and don't need it. But when two teachers took global writing project together, one was from Greece and taught fifth graders, and one was from the United States and taught fifth graders. And then after the global writing project was over with, those got together in Second Life and planned out interactions between the Greek children and the American children. And they started doing projects on their own. And I don't even know what they've done lately, other than I know they're continuing to do that. I don't know how it's going or why, but I don't have any data. But anecdotally, uh, everything I see is uh, we make
Grid jumper.
we, 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 we make a lot of mistakes, you know. uh, uh, the Greeks, for example, set up their class to be every Monday or every Tuesday morning uh, in U.S. time, and uh, Linden Labs does rolling restarts on our islands every morning at every Tuesday morning. So that was a big miss, and we didn't know that. I'm not a real good manager of the island, I think, because I don't know a lot of that's the technical stuff. But it never occurred to me to ask that they did rolling restarts every Tuesday.
Um, Grid jumper had a question in chat a little while ago that said something about MOOCs, and let me try and bring. Here it is. What kind of relationship, if any, do you think there is between the new MOOC movement and virtual environments?
I don't know a lot about MOOC, and thank you for pronouncing it. I've been calling it MOOC for a long time. I guess that isn't quite right. I think it's a wonderful idea. Um, I know a lot of people in higher ed hate it to death because I keep reading about it. Um, I don't know what relationship that would Second Life or not. Um, seems more like the lecture part of learning, and I don't think it would help the lecture part. It might make the lecture part easier, more convenient, but it's what you do after the lecture. I like the flipped movement where the video is what kids or the lecture is what kids do at home because they can replay the video over and over and over again and stop it and go find something on the internet and come back so they understand what it's all going about. And that then what happens in the classroom, I think that kind of thing that could happen in the classroom could happen really well in Second Life. Mostly I'm interested in Second Life, and I wish that kids um, younger could do Second Life somehow. But it's the interaction, it's um, the group coming together and solving problems and creating things that I think are the future of education. Um, I don't know how Second Life plays into that, but
I think Lauren maybe tapped into it. There's a lot of open sim, um, I guess, grids being put together. It really seems to be where a lot of the Second Life, especially Team Grid folks, wound up as maybe going into an open sim grid. Have you considered that at all instead of putting your money into Second Life, putting it into say an open sim grid, which would probably take more tech know-how, but
yeah, I
any
just don't
thoughts on
have
that
the
one?
skills to do that. You almost have to be a builder. The last time I looked at that may not be true now. It's been a while since I've looked at other sims, but you kind of have to be a builder. Um, really like the looks of Alice Academy, but I didn't build any of those buildings. I modified them, I to my purposes, but I certainly did not. I couldn't. The buildings I would make if I had OpenSim were slow or little, and I didn't have money to pay somebody to build stuff. So um, I think when some of the really good builders, or if you could take the building and go from Second Life to an OpenSim, then I would consider that. Although part of the program too is to get people out and about, and I I don't know that OpenSims have that, where they can get out and find other people who are doing the same thing. I would ask you guys, why are you still here? If if OpenSims, or maybe you're both, you're here and there as well. I don't know, but gee, I even the only thing I don't like about Second Life is its price. It's just it's just very burdensome.
I think you've tapped into really a lot of the reasons. I think the price is very difficult, especially for school environments. Obviously, Second Life with its content is difficult for K-12, and I know many people here are K-12. I think for the higher ed, I think Second Life certainly offers still that such a robust environment and so many different types of sims and different. You still have one of the biggest, I think, draws here, and still so many people in so many different venues, and certainly the viewer is very slick and updated. Again, I think for most open sim folks like myself, really to do anything K-12, you need something that's a little more locked down and where you have some control over who's in and who you can manage and make it a little easier fit financially. So I think you hit it, but I love the your concept, especially at higher ed, of bringing things in and bringing different people in. Okay, I think we would like to take a tour of Alice. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any questions. I know people can ask questions when they make their way over, but let me just take a peek here. Any other questions for Arthur before we take a little field trip?
I for the people who got here early, I gave them a landmark and one of my books. Um, if you have the landmark, you just go ahead and go. And those that want to go, if you hang around, I'll give you a landmark real quick, and that'll get you there easily. Um, and you can just click on that book and take a copy. You don't need for me to hand it to you if you want a copy of the book that somebody's opening and closing now. But you should be able to just click on it and take a copy. Um, but I would say go on over there, and anybody's left here, come up toward me, and I'll give you a landmark if you want to go.
Recommendations on places to
Well,
see as we make our way
I'll
over
give you
there,
a
or would you
tour
like?
if people want to. If it's just too many, you might not do that. But I will be happy to tell you what we do at each station. And but if you want to take off and be absolutely on your own, then that's fine too. So just whatever you want to do.
I think a tour would be
Can I
great.
have a landmark? Thank you. Okay, as soon as you get your landmark, take off, and I'll be over there in a minute. Anybody else want a landmark that I haven't given them yet? Just come on over and I'll drop one on you. I think everybody that's been close to me has gotten one. Okay, well, thanks for having me. And Oh, there's another one.
I know I'll thank you several times, but I just want to thank you personally while the camera's still rolling. This is what you're doing is really great, and I think you've hit on a lot of I think interests and intrigue that a lot of our members have. So
Thank you.
thank you, and look, let's
Okay.
all head on over to the Alice
Anybody else
Academy
want
and
to
get
learn
a
more?
tour.
Okay then. Thanks for having me. And if you didn't get it, oh, right here. Around the outside of this space, you can see where people have been doing their own work, making their own PowerPoint presentations about the content that they're learning in the class. And you see some gazebos in the back, and the gazebos hold about 10 people and 15 in a punch, and they're soundproofed off. So when they break up into groups, they can have 4 groups of 10 to 15 people and then meet back again in the center to do whatever. To do the videos properly, you need to reset your preferences, your video preferences. And if we make it back to the original building, I'll show you how to set those preferences. If you look in the direction that I'm looking, you can see what look like books. And those books are really not books. They are soundproof um, places where about 6 teachers can meet. And 6 teachers can choose to meet at tables, or they can choose to meet in a living room setting or in the backyard in an open air setting. And we use those a lot. Where we want teachers who want to go off, talk about things, plan, work things out, and then come back out and share with the whole group. So there's no need to go through all of them, but they are all based on a dead uh, author, since I'm an English teacher. And Edgar Allan Poe is my favorite, so I think I did that one best. So go in at least one of those book places, and I'll meet you back at the Babbage Lovelace Park, which is next to it. So small group discussion area. If you are not familiar with an anywhere door, that's to my right. One of the things about Second Life is that you have to keep it fresh and moving. We have used this gigantic building here for a whole bunch of different processes, for a whole bunch of different reasons. And it seems like every year we do something different with it. What we're doing with it now is putting up great videos that play inside Second Life. However, they don't play inside Second Life well unless you change your preferences for how you view movies. And behind me, to my left, is directions on how to set your video viewing preferences so that the videos play inside Second Life instead of launching a browser that might cover up your Second Life screen or be behind your Second Life screen and you don't really realize that that's changed. So for the best viewing, reset your preferences as shown on this chart. You know, click on me and then preferences, and then it probably should be fairly